La Mesa Blanca, episode 2. And this episode, I wanted to talk about our roots. So I wanted to call this episode Robles to represent our last name, our family last name. Mm-hmm. And for those that don't know, Robles is my grandfather's last name, Don Andres, may he rest in peace, as well as, wow, it's so interesting.
Isn't it?
Done. So it's very interesting. Don Andres and Maria Robles, who second there. See, because men don't cry. So there's this joke that I always say, and my god kids always know this, because I always, whenever anyone cries, I'm always like, we don't cry, man up, you know. But no, Don Andres and Maria Robles, and I wanted to dedicate this episode to them, as well as to all my ancestors that came before me. And I guess I'm getting emotional too, because as espiritistas, that's what we are. That's what we do. We receive that fuerza, receive that current. And as I said their name, como ellos se sentaron.
Definitely, yeah.
¿Tú me entiendes? Ellos se sentaron and I was like, estamos aquí también, gozando con ustedes. We're here with you, watching and guiding. But for those that don't know, Robles is actually an oak tree. So the name Robles for us means a lot, because not only are we Centro Nuestro, but we're also Botánica Ceiba. The Ceiba tree is another very important tree within Spiritism, within all ATRs. It's the Potomitang. It's the center source, the center pole, the north or south pole, whatever you want to call it. It's the center of who and what we are. Is where spirits come from, where spirits go, where we leave offerings, so much things, and we'll get on all those topics later, of course. But Robles for me always meant that, the tree, the roots. So today is dedicated to them. With that being said, we always start and end with prayer. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Amén. Espíritus prudentes y benévolos, mensajeros de Dios, cuya misión es ser al asistir a los hombres y conducirlos por el bien camino. Sosténeme la prueba de esta vida, dame fuerza para sufrir sin murmurar. Desvía de mí los malos pensamientos y hacer que no dé acceso a ninguno de los malos espíritus que intenten inducirme al mal. Ilumina mi conciencia para que pueda ver mi defecto. Separa de mis ojos el velo del orgullo, que podía pedirme el velo y confesármelo a mí mismo. Vos sobre todo, you above all, my guardian angel, María y Andrés Robles. Amén. Que velas más particularmente sobre mí, y vosotros espíritus protectores que tomes interés por mí, hasta que me haga digno de vuestras benevolencias. Conocéis mis necesidades, hace pues que me sea concedida gracia según la voluntad de Dios. Amén. Amén. So Robles.
Yeah, Robles, definitely.
It's a big name, and not for nothing. Back in the day, you knew who the Robleses were in Corona, Queens, Jackson Heights. Shout out Jackson Heights, where you at? Woo, Jackson Heights. But you knew who the Robles were, and you knew where the Robles family was at, because in the basement of the house there was an older lady sitting in a rocking chair waiting to attend all that walked through that door. Amen. Didn't matter if you were black, if you were gay, if you were lesbian, if you were it didn't matter who you were, didn't matter how much money you had, how much power you had, nothing. You would come to that basement, to the centro de Papa Guede. I gotta give a shout out to Papa Guede too for starting it off too. He's part of the Raíces, which I'm gonna get into right now too. But going into her basement, sitting in front of her, even if it was just to vent to her, for she could give a loving prayer to you.
Yeah, she was there to serve the community, regardless of who you were, what your status was economically. So do you want to...
Well, by the way, this is my mom's. I know I said it in the first episode, but just in case y'all didn't watch it, just in case, my mom's. I met Robles, all right? I met Maria Robles from Brooklyn.
Yes, definitely.
Shout out to Brooklyn. But I'm talking about her mother, my grandmother. So, Mom, why don't you tell them, I guess, the story of where it all started, Mima's roots.
Oh, okay. As far as I know, my grandmother was actually having trouble conceiving. She had a bunch of miscarriages.
Mama Jenny?
Mama Jenny, yeah. Her mom was named Jenny. And they were living in the Dominican Republic, and what she decided to do after visiting doctors over and over was to go see a brujo.
Ma, who you talking to? I'm right here.
Okay.
I thought we
Oh,
were-
this way?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. She decided to go, well, you know the story, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Yeah, because I want to hear
She
it,
decided
man.
to go see a brujo, and el brujo estaba montado en cabeza de guerrero. And they made her go over, and she had to eat the food, arenque, el arroz prieto, todo eso. And sure enough, she conceived my mom. But because of that, my mom was at that moment considered, cuando naca la niña, la niña va a ser hija mía.
Dijo que de.
Y él dijo que de. You know, and then years later, when my mom was told the story, or even before the story, she started feeling certain things in her life where she felt the spirits come in. But at first, we didn't know what it was. So we would visit doctors again and try to see what was going on with her.
I wasn't in the picture yet.
No, he wasn't in the picture.
spiritual,
I was a
maybe,
kid.
You know,
And she
where I
kept
was,
fainting
so.
in the house and stuff like that. And then before you knew it, then we found out that it had to do with something spiritually.
Yeah, because at least from what I heard from you guys, growing up and stuff like that too, she didn't even know about that pact that her mom
She
made
didn't know about
with
the
the
pact.
Guedeses.
She didn't know about the pact.
And then
Exactly.
in una fiesta espiritual here, because back in the day too, there used to be so many other centers.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, centers are I always say is a dying breed. Although I think, and I'm happy that I see many people trying to cultivate and grow centers. Like back in the day, I don't know, it was like no other. And I pray to God that it
Yeah.
comes back again.
Yeah, me too.
And I see it kind of making a comeback again. But I feel like everyone has to really go back to that humility.
Definitely.
Al
That's what it's
principio.
all about.
But
Definitely that.
nonetheless, when Mima, after the factory days, Mima went to a fiesta de palo y ahí se montó Guede. Ahí Guede came in and Guede said, that woman that just came in after surgery, after procedure, que me had a procedure, something like that, ¿no
Yeah.
era?
Sí, una operación que tuvieron que hacer de emergencia.
De emergencia.
Y entró con la herida recién hecha y todo. Ya, and they said, dile a ella que
Entonces Guede
Que venga aquí
said,
adelante.
that woman who was there, who just came out of surgery, please tell her to come here and grab a chair for her. That's what they said, grab a chair for her. My grandfather used to tell me all the time, because my
Yeah.
grandfather, shout out to Papa, I love you, Papa, he was very jealous. So he was like, you want next to my wife? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there they sat her, and Guede said, you don't know that you're my child? You don't know that you're here because of me? You don't know that the reason that you're fainting, the reason that all these things are happening is because it's your time to work.
Yeah.
And you had to come here. And then Mima called her mom, from
Yeah.
my understanding, and then told her like, yo, this is what just happened, blah blah. And her mom said, yeah. Her mom didn't necessarily want to tell her what exactly happened or transpired in DR, but that's what happened. And then from there, arrancó. From
Yeah.
there, she started to prepare herself.
from one minute to the next, yeah.
But didn't she start preparing herself from a miracle that you went through, actually?
Actually, yeah, I went through a miracle, which I would say later on. That's very personal, but I do want to be open about my miracle.
Okay.
You know, and exactly
To be
that same place
continued.
that she went to. Just giving you parts of the story, it was when I walked in. No, I'm wrong. I actually told my mother to take me, and I was like 10 years old because something that had went on in my life, and I went in and directly
A different center.
Yeah.
A different center spiritual.
Yeah, which is a very known center back in the 80s. So I wanted to go there because I knew I had to.
What was the name of the caballo that used to work there?
Marien. I wonder where she's at. May she, if she's
Marien,
not on this
if you
earth,
ever
then
hear this,
may she rest in peace.
Please
yeah.
hit us up because
Yeah.
I want to give thanks for the miracle that was
it
done.
was amazing.
Because,
we gave plenty of thanks.
No,
yeah.
because of her, I'm here too, because of you, you know?
Exactly.
But that's for a later day, that's fine. But my point is nonetheless that it was through that center that Mima started to prepare herself.
Yeah.
And then slowly, one day to the next, she started to read the Copa Espiritual, where
Yes.
people would come and gather in her house, and it was one day to the next. So back in the day, the ladies of, you know, the community, the ladies, what do you call it? But like the housewives. The housewives of Queens.
Corona.
Of Corona Queens would gather and they would just drink coffee.
Yeah.
And they would play cards or play games, whatever. And sometimes they would get a little fun and they'll have little seances. So what happened was that there was, I forgot her name.
My mom had a friend named Estela, yeah.
Yes. And she said to my grandmother, Maria, ¿por qué tú no me lees la copa? But just playing around. Maria, why don't you read me the goblet of water? But just playing around, not knowing that she could do it. My grandma didn't even know that she could do it per se. So they put a goblet in front of her. My grandma said, mira, pang, pa, pang, pa, pang, pa, pang, to her. And gave her, and pang, pa, pang, pa, pang means evidencia or messages. She didn't say pang, pang, pang. That would have been weird.
Yeah,
I'd have been like, all right. But my point is that she started to give her things and tell her things about her life and about what's to come, and everything came out that way. Because of that, then other people that
within a week. By the second day, there was like 3 people knocking on the door. Like, it's like when they send them to you, you don't even know why. And by the end of the week, we had the indoor porch, which was actually packed with people waiting for my mom to read the copa.
Yeah.
You know, it was like from one
porque
second
yo no
to the
trabajaba
next.
con los misterios al principio.
No, ella lo sentía, pero no así. And that only lasted like a couple of months, maybe 2, until they said, okay, now we're coming in.
And I want that to be in everyone's memory. Que ella no trabajaba con los misterios al principio. What I mean is that she didn't work with the spirits at that time. So waiting your time.
Definitely.
And I feel like a lot of people try to rush or try to mount or think that the mounting is the goal, the importance, when it's not.
No, absolutely.
You know,
not.
pero después de ahí, después, a los tiempos, a los años.
No, eso fue ahí mismo, no fue a los años.
Oh, okay, tell me
fue
about
como a los 2 meses. Porque ahí mismo vino Guerrero y dijo, no, ahora yo voy a subir en cabeza tuya. Y así fue, one behind the other, you could say, because I guess the time of her waiting was the time that she was born, or the episodes she had that she used to faint. And then now is her time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then that is when it comes, everything when it comes to
A full circle.
Mima's development and how she developed. Because then right after that, then the center opened up for Mima. They got the house, and then
Yes.
everyone started to come, and then she started to baptize her own God kids.
Yes.
Y se abrió, y tanto milagro.
Yeah, I
And
see a
mean
milagro.
miracles that we saw there, because there was people who were literally, and one I remember in particular was the guy who came in and he couldn't walk.
Yeah, he was in a
And
step bed,
Yeah,
practically.
they carried him in with a bed, and he left the house walking.
Yes.
Because eso era brujería. When brujería was brujería, because not for nothing, I mean, God bless you, you know, everyone that's into brujería and all the new brujos, pero anteriormente, in the past, brujería was brujería.
Yeah.
Now I feel like no one really knows the profoundness of it, because
Yeah.
everyone is just on the
Surface.
surface.
Definitely.
Surface level, especially that everyone is, because of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, all these things, everyone is on the surface.
Yeah.
And everyone's only seeing surface thing, what you see, the beauty of it all, but not necessarily la razón,
Yeah,
the
the
reasons,
roots,
the
yeah.
roots, the Robles
Definitely.
tree. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, and then from there, when did your spiritual journey start?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well,
Because my ability doesn't only come from Mima.
No, absolutely, I know. Well, I started when I was like 3 years old. It's like my first time like actually seeing something. And throughout my whole life,
What did you see?
I saw El Barón. You know, he came to me when I was 3 years old.
Can you describe him?
It was a tall entity, a man dressed in black. Actually, I got to see him, and if my brother ever watches this, it was me and my brother that got to see him at the same time.
I have uncles. Shout out to my uncles.
Yeah. So he was just standing at the door of the room, and just looking at us. And so I remember running and telling my mom, and she was like, "No, it's okay," because you know I completely understood. I was too young. Now looking back at it, how do you explain that to a 3-year-old? And then after that, we always had we had mirrors like in the bathroom, like most people, but like the long mirrors. And I would just see the mirror as
A dimension.
a dimension. Like I was.
So
just,
you had the ability to see into mirrors.
Yeah, to see into mirrors.
Where did that ability come from?
My grandmother. My grandmother, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but on Mima's side or Papa's?
My dad's side, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
I came from
I was trying to lead her up to that too,
Yeah.
because as far as the lineage goes, it doesn't only come from my grandmother. It comes from my grandfather's
both
side
sides.
too. My grandfather's mother, as well as her grandmother, used to work with Ogun and the Misterios as well,
Yes.
and used to read mirrors and have all those forms of spiritism with them and the ability with them too.
Yeah.
So our lineage, it comes from a very long, interesting, spread out roots,
Yes, yeah.
a beautiful Robles tree
Yeah.
of spirits.
And it
So-
comes from both sides, yeah.
and both
definitely,
sides.
definitely.
Exactly. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us in this week's episode of La Mesa Blanca's podcast. Please like, subscribe, and turn on your alert notifications for future episodes. Since we always start and end with God. Here is La Pelagre de Náufrago. Torna tu vista, Dios mío, hacia esta infeliz criatura. No me des mi sepultura entre las olas del mar. Dame la fuerza y valor para salvar el abismo. Dame gracia por lo mismo que es tan grande tu bondad. Si yo cual frágil barquilla por mi soberbia halagado, el mar humano he cruzado, tan solo tras el placer. Déjame, Señor, que vuelva a piscinar el continente, haciendo voto ferviente de ser cristiano con fe. Si yo con mi torpa falta me he mecido entre la bruma, desfiando la espuma que levanta el temporal, te ofrezco que en adelante no tendré atrevimiento de ensordecer el lamento de aquel que sufre en el mal. Y si siguiendo mi rumba ha tenido hasta el descarro de burlarme de aquel faro que fuerte me designo, yo te prometo, Dios mío, de no burlarme de esa luz que brille sobre la cruz por el Hijo de tu amor. Oh tu Padre de mi alma, que escuchas al afligido y me ves arrepentido de lo que mi vida fue. Sálvame, Dios mío, sálvame. Y dame antes de cuenta, para que yo me arrepienta en el tiempo preciso. Amén. Paz y justicia, amor y caridad. Luz y progreso, en gracia la misericordia. Con Dios empezamos y con Dios terminamos. Y a Dios siempre la gracia les damos. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, guys, God bless.